We're Batman at 89. Greetings, citizens of Gotham, and welcome to Batminute 89, the show where we creep through Bruce Wayne's halls and admire his balls 1 minute at a time. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
I am the other host, Niall McGowan.
Yes, and we are joined once again by Rikky Wiley.
Hello.
Enthusiastic there. It's been a tough week.
The man's life has changed irrevocably since the last episode. Like, everything's just fallen apart. So, but we dragged him back in to make sure this got done.
There is no escape.
We're actually doing this from, I'm in prison at the moment, and we're just, this is my one phone call I'm spending.
You've used it wisely.
If there's any complaints about the sound quality, take it up with the warden at the Liverpool City Prison. So.
Yeah, Liverpool City Prison.
Anyway, so Batman, minute 21 of Batman. I can't believe it. We're all the way at 21. And the minute starts with what I assume is the king of the Wicker people. And it ends with Bruce Wayne almost literally showering in champagne. Or that might be in my mind, in my dreams.
Well, yeah, we get this now. One of the it's just something I don't think would fly in a modern film now. Like, Knox is making fun of, like, look at this weird cultural artifact, the king of the Wicker people. And it just makes him come across as like, yeah, he's just a bit of a prick, this guy. So.
Yeah, I'm souring on him again. I know you said you were, but I'm completely, like, he's just making fun of all these cultural and historical relics. I'm out as far as Knox is concerned.
Are we, as audience members, supposed to give a little chuckle at that joke? I suspect we're not supposed to find that funny. I think that's supposed to be a bad joke.
I don't know, because I've noted that it's in no version of the script. I think it's a Robert Wool improv. So that's probably his level of comedy. It's like, this is a... But suppose we should... maybe we should describe what we're seeing on screen, just in case people don't know.
That would be helpful, yeah.
It's the most bizarre of all the suits of armor, isn't it? It's kind of like gazelle horns and goggles and hay. It doesn't look terribly Wicker to me.
No, it doesn't at all. Because you think Wicker, you think like wicker baskets and wicker chairs. This more looks like bamboo and stuff like that. But I guess Wicker's made from bamboo. But
unless it's Wicker, WICCA.
Oh, I had not considered that.
I don't think Robert Wool would have known what that was back in '89. I think that's about 10 years later that would have become a thing, maybe. But.
Well, I don't know.
We all remember that classic horror movie, The Bamboo Man.
This was why I
instead of the Wicker Man, damn it.
Yeah, no, I got it. It's the
Niall
reason.
Didn't.
Did you genuinely not?
Because the two of you were speaking at the same time, so all I heard was the tail end was just Bamboo Man.
Bamboo Man.
And I was like, although to bring up the Wicker Man though, it's actually a good point, because that would be in Tim Burton's wheelhouse though, because it's a horror film in the kind of classic British tradition. It's got Christopher Lee in it, who obviously Tim Burton would work with years later. So I can imagine he kept that line in as a little like, it's like a little nod to the Wicker Man, kinda.
Maybe.
We're
on to you, Tim.
It's one of the things that I fully expected to find, as I mentioned in the last minute, in some Tim Burton sketch, was like a fully realised version of this King of the Wicker people. But again, I've not found. Have you guys found anything that's like kind of like a supporting concept sketch or anything for this? This suit?
No. The one thing that it like, again, it my thoughts on it were like, because it has all these kind of like spikes out everywhere. The closest things that's in a Tim Burton thing that I can equate to it is like, it's a bit like in Beetlejuice when he has all the spikes coming out of him.
Yeah.
And then it seems like it's almost like that design could have been a thing in Beetlejuice anyway. That could have been in like the waiting room with him. It's just this is another like weird ghoul that's shown up.
That's very plausible.
Probably just had it left over.
Indeed.
Yeah, I did think as well as we were saying yesterday about potentially like Batman's reappropriated some things from these suits of armor for his own getup. And I thought again, like we had the spikes in the head yesterday, and that was like, well, maybe there's something to do with the ears, but it was a bit of a stretch. But this one actually looks like the things coming out of the top of his head are a bit more slightly reminiscent of the bat cowl in terms of like, well, it's two big protrusions coming out the top.
Yeah,
you are right.
So like maybe that could be another thing. It's like, and I was going to try to make a stretch of like the weird kind of bamboo goggles coming out. They do look a bit like at the end when he's in the Batwing and he brings down his little goggles, his little opera glasses he has in there. And but I thought that was a bit of a stretch though. It's like, well, maybe not that, but maybe you could say it's a.
Since you said bamboo goggles, it's just made me think. Have you seen the fake binoculars and fake radios and fake air traffic control towers built in the Pacific Ocean during the Second World War? Cargo cults, they're called, aren't they? Where these Pacific Islanders who were ignored for generations, suddenly their islands became really important strategically in the Second World War, and so there'd be like US military bases would set up there and these tribes people had never seen anything like it, so they'd see these planes coming, think that the planes were gods because they'd drop off the cargo, and so so they would try and lure these planes to land for them and drop off cargo. So that you can Google online, there's like literally bamboo air traffic control towers and people with like headphones made out of coconuts, and they still exist today. You can there's some great YouTube clips of them like marching in pseudo military formation. There's one famously worships a guy called John Frum, who's like their god, and nobody quite knows who John Frum was because he wasn't listed as, but they think maybe he said his name was John from America, and they've just got John from that. But they actually made fake binoculars out of, and if not bamboo, something very similar to bamboo, and that's. But there is no way of. I'm sure that wasn't on Tim Burton's mind when he lashed it in.
it's
well, you never know. That could be a representation of the god that they think is in the plane.
Yeah, I mean, we never know. We can't say what was on Tim's mindset at the time, but
until he's a guest on the show,
Yeah,
there you go.
I mean, what else is he doing?
I think we all know what he's doing. He's doing the same thing that he's been doing for a very long time now.
Exactly. So mix it up, Tim. Get on the show. You're divorced now, aren't you? So, you just sat around the house in your pants doing nothing. Get on the show.
I wouldn't throw his divorce into the mix, mate.
He's probably sitting there
nothing
listening.
happening.
He was probably sitting there going like, "Oh yeah, come on!" Oh, they're throwing my divorce in it. Screw these guys.
So, minute 21.
Where's the sound effect? Where's the sound effect?
Oh, yeah, hang on. Minute 21. Sneaky Bruce here is still listening in. And Knox and Vicki both say they have no idea where the next piece of armor has come from. But then Bruce finally pipes up and gives them the answer.
So much.
It's
Japanese. There's so much to unpack in that. But Vicki Vale doesn't know where an obviously samurai suit of armor comes from. Like international photographer who's traveled all around the world can't identify like the most Japanese thing in the world. It's like the only thing.
If it was Knox, I could buy it.
That's
there's one thing about the and I'm not too sure if it's part of the suit of armor or they've put it on the mannequin, but it's got a hell of it's a very classically Asian looking mustache. Like it's really long red mustache going down, but like I don't think that's but that can't be in the suit of armor. They have to put that on the mannequin, which is even like that's what were they thinking there? That's weird.
That's culturally insensitive.
That is
isn't
baffling.
It's
unless they got info that there was like, oh no, the people who would have worn this armor, they had to have this tash as like that was part of their station or something. But I really doubt that. That seems like it was just
like the Padawan knot that they have in their hair that a certain rank of samurai has the crazy tash.
Did you have the Padawan knot?
Euphemistically, yes. Literally, no.
It's like all the trendy things that happened with the around the. So remember for a brief period, that was like a fashion thing, the Padawan knot in real life, and then they tried to make like the like Frodo's hair from Lord of the Rings. They tried to force that into fashion, and then it's like the world just went, nope. Yeah, I remember some people going around with that really greasy curly mop. It was very much modeled on that.
Wow.
And it happened like maybe around 2002, 2003, and then it was just back out. No, everyone just went, stop, back up, back the hell up.
I was going to say this joke that Bruce Wayne does, Japan, and he says, "How do you know?"
Oh yeah,
because I bought it in Japan. Which I think is it's not funny when I deliver it like that. That's just a factual representation of how the dialogue went. But it is very funny. I got a laugh out of it. It's much funnier than Knox's joke.
Oh, yeah.
Just moments before. Do you think that Bruce Wayne knows he's making a joke there?
Oh yeah. No, it's deliberate. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they're just stupid. They haven't clocked on yet that he's Bruce. I love it because he's just hammering it home. He's like, "Do you get it? It's me. I'm Bruce."
I don't know, because he does. I mean, look at his facial expressions though. He does have like a moment then when he kind of stares Knox down for a split second, where he has a kind of look of like, "Don't you know what I'm talking about?" And then he has a real like, "Oh, sorry, yeah, Bruce Wayne." Like he's just realized, "Oh, I haven't introduced myself to this fella," as if he's assuming like, "Well, of course, everyone here knows who I am," even though. The few minutes previously, when he first bumped into Vicki, she didn't know who he was.
Well, she's new in town.
Yeah,
I think that I think it's well that it gets right into why Keaton is beautiful in this, is because I don't think at first I thought he was making a joke. At first I thought he was taking the piss out of Knox and just stunning him off and saying, "Because Gilly's Japan, silly sod." But if you actually look at as you put it, like he's staring him down in it, I don't think in character, I don't think Bruce Wayne knows he's making a joke. I think it's one of the things that's great about this version of Bruce Wayne is that he is disassociated from everybody else, and he doesn't really have any friends. He doesn't really know how to connect to people. And in his world, he doesn't get that people don't have the same frame of reference that he does. So he's saying it to go, well, because I got in Japan. So he's delivering that straight, and it's still good. It's still good. The laugh, you still get the laugh out of it. The joke's still there, but I don't think Bruce Wayne is in on the joke. I think it's one of those things that underlines that this version of Bruce Wayne behaves very odd because he's an odd character, as opposed to the later Bruce Waynes that we see in films. Obviously, the Christopher Nolan one. I think that it's kind of the Christopher Nolan Bruce Wayne is a very normal. Christian Bale Bruce Wayne's a very normal guy who occasionally goes, "Isn't it crazy that I dress up like a bat?" And they kind of make a bit of a joke out of it and poke fun at it. Whereas I think that the Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne comes across in a few key places as like a genuinely troubled, edgy, not altogether there guy. And I think that it's just hinted at in that line, but obviously it comes up later on in the film as well.
Well, I think what happens next, kind of, you could read it that way as well, because Knox introduces himself, and then he's got the cheek to ask Bruce for a grant, and the way Bruce responds to that, he sort of laughs the request off, which I interpreted as, it's like a fake laugh, like shut up. But you could read it the way you've just said as well. He genuinely doesn't know what to say. Like, okay.
To be honest, he laughs in the same way. He laughs. The way I read that laugh was he laughs like. Everybody's made that joke to him. He's been hearing that joke for his whole life, and he has to kind of pretend that it's funny every time out of manners. It's like I've mentioned that I work at a music venue in Liverpool city centre, and I've worked in various similar places and theatres and that, like stewarding they call it, or being an usher, basically pointing out where people's seats are. And if you ever done any stewarding work or ushering work, and you're in the circle or the gods or the balcony anywhere high up, at one point during every show, when the customers finally get up to that level, and you say, "Oh, can I help you?" They'll say, "Can I have some oxygen, please?" Which is a hilarious joke to do with mountaineering, but you'll hear it once per shift, and every time it's in your contract that they make you sign, you have to pretend like that joke's funny. You're not allowed to spit at them, you're not allowed to kick them down the stairs. But yeah, I've been hearing that joke since I was 19 years old, and I give the exact same response that Bruce Wayne gives there.
You feel his pain.
You've bonded with this version of Bruce Wayne much more than most people, I think. It's like, I see myself in him. Like, but But before we move on to the whole Grant thing, because I just thought as well, I should just point out the other little beautiful thing about the I got it in Japan thing is that this is alluding to Bruce's, samurai training and all his ninja skills and whatnot. Because it's like, well, he was in Japan. Like, it's because it's one of those things. Like, yeah, like if you know the source material, if you know the Batman lore, it's like, oh yeah, he spent years abroad and training to do this and that. It reminded me very much of as beautifully done as well, even more subtly done in. Did you ever watch Hannibal, the TV show? Rikky, I know John did.
It's on my list. I've heard nothing but good things.
Oh, it's fun. Oh, it is terrific. But there's a like it's one of those things like it readapts elements, like it's a whole hodgepodge of like a new material and elements from all the books, and it kind of reappropriates them as it sees fit. But there's one of the most reviled film and book is Hannibal Rising, where it like explains Hannibal's entire backstory, and like the show never does that. They kind of keep him very mysterious. But one thing that they very subtly hint at in season 2 is that there's a bit in Hannibal Rising where like he's living with his aunt, who's like Lady Murasake, is like a Japanese lady, and she's like polishing this, showing him how to appropriately polish this samurai armor. And later on, he becomes like really fixated with the armor, and he steals the little mask, and it looks a bit like the Hannibal Lecter mask, and it's all a lot of stupid crap like that. But there's a bit in season 2 of Hannibal where he goes to answer his door, and the camera lingers ever so slightly on a Japanese suit of samurai armor in the background. So like if you know the material, you can go, oh, that's that suit of armor. But if you don't know the material, you just be like, oh, that's maybe he's got some training or something, because we know he can fight. So, but it's just beautifully done, because it's kind of like, well, if you know what this is, great. If you don't, it's just a little thing for you there.
It still works, doesn't it? Like,
I think it's a degree of subtlety that we're clawing our way back to in popular culture, really, aren't we? After like the early 2000s are notorious for lots of like heavy-handed. I know we're all big fans, obviously, of Star Wars Minute, and they talk about it a lot in The Phantom Menace, where they try and do nods to other things or set things up. There's the Greedo outtake where it's like Greedo as a kid, and it's just like, But you're right. Tim Burton does it very subtly.
I will say, like, the worst of that is, I feel though, is in Rogue One, where at the beginning when like Galen's running into his house, and the camera just stops for a little second on the blue milk, just in the middle of all the action. It's just like, oh, there's the blue milk, and it's like, I know. What, you can just have it in the background. You don't have to have it in the forefront of the shot. It's
where they get the training ball out, and in the Millennium Falcon, it's like both of them. I just thought, rankled a touch. It's like just have it there if you've got to have it there, but don't be like basically have a big arrow come in from out of frame and go, look, hey,
waving it in your face.
Although I suppose getting back to the minute as well, just one final thing on this samurai armor, it looks wildly impractical to me as well. Because I've seen like samurai armor in terms of like what like Shredder wears in like the Turtles movies, where it's like it's big helmet and all that kind of thing. But this is like these things coming out of the kind of the cheeks of the shoulders, these big sort of fans. I can imagine someone if that's like a general sitting up on a horse, and he's just there to look intimidating. I'm assuming that's what it is, because I can't imagine anyone fighting in that armor. It just looks wildly.
Have you guys ever played? Have you ever played Warhammer? No, I never planned to have kids, and then I thought when I'm in my 40s and 50s, I've got nothing to do, I'll get into Warhammer, because I had a dalliance with it as a younger man, but never got into it properly. But there's a thing in Warhammer where like one of the rules is, one of the boosts that your men can get is that if one of your regiments is like within a certain distance of the standard bearer, who's the guy who carries the big flag with your logo on, I'm sure they weren't called logos, then you get like an attack boost or something like that. And I can imagine that's what the overly extravagant suits of armor would be like back in the day, that if you could see from a distance somebody who's like the figurehead of your guys, and he's very easy to spot in the battlefield, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, our bosses here, we're going to kick everyone's ass.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's kind of the opposite of Batman, but with a similar effect, as in he has that he has the opposite effect on the criminals. He wants to be visible to them, even though he's sneaking around, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Robin, why Robin has like a yellow lining to his cloak, his cape, and why he wears bright red. It was in like a Grant Morrison story, and I'm not the biggest fan of Grant Morrison, but it was. In fact, it was the Batman story where Batman gets his mind erased. Have you read this one? And he doesn't know who he is, and he has to relearn to be Batman. It's like the Batman of Zazazoom or something like that. He's called. He's honestly called that. Don't read the story. Don't read the story. But when Batman, with his mind erased, makes himself a new suit, he makes it red and all garish colours, and it's one of those retconny bits where he says that's why Robin had all the garish colours in his outfit to kind of startle and intimidate the opponent.
I think it's in the All-Star Batman and Robin. I may be wrong, but I think it's in that, because that series, like, that's Frank Miller's last crack at the bat. Hey. But that's it. Like, yeah, it's wildly reviled because he's just made. It's supposed to be deconstructionist look at Batman, but he's just made him a horrible, horrible asshole in it. And I think he specifies in that like, Robin's bright and all that, so the crooks will shoot at him rather than Batman. So he can be like, so he'll be like, oh, he's distracting them, and then I'll take care of them. But and he does have that's supposed to be part brilliant. Of the yellow emblem on the chest is like, it's if they shoot at the chest at this thing, they won't shoot at my head. Yeah. So the color is a thing I think they've established in various forms. It's like, it's a strategic thing, but
it was like that was the Dark Knight Returns, wasn't it? In which he says he has the bright yellow emblem because he's got the super reinforced chest armor. That's where all his armor's the strongest. So that's the target.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that makes sense. Batman, minute 21. Where were we? So Vicki introduces herself to Bruce. And instantly, Bruce is a lot more intrigued now he's seen her. He's a bit of a dog. The look he gives her, he's interested.
Yeah, it's also this awkwardness now as well, because he has to address the fact that she's irritable when she says, Vicki Vale. Because it's like, we just spoke, and you told me you didn't know who Bruce Wayne was. And as it turns out, it was all a lampoon. He was simply a lampoon. Yeah. It's It does. It's very good though, because she says like, "Oh, are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, this time." Because again, within this, this armory, and it's all about like the various things that people put on themselves and different disguises, and it's notable that in all versions of the script, it's not suits of armor they look at; it's actually weapons. And Tim Burton seems to have very much turned it into disguises that people put on. So when she's saying like, "Oh, are you sure it's you?" It is because he's a dual personality as well. It's like, it's Batman and it's Bruce Wayne. Like,
in a way, it's not him, is it? Because the real him isn't Bruce.
I think the Michael Keaton Batman, the real him is Bruce. I think he's more Bruce Wayne.
You think he's more? Yeah, I suppose in the other versions, he tends to be a bit more. Yeah, he seems a bit more at ease with himself.
His personality is a lot more three-dimensional when he's being Bruce Wayne, and he kind of goes into character for reasons of necessity, I think, in the Michael Keaton version, which is brilliant because it gives us a chance to see more of Michael Keaton's charisma. I think we're always going to go back on the Christopher Nolan one in comparison, which is not necessarily appropriate, but like Christian Bale doesn't have that charisma, so it kind of lends itself more to the real me is the Batman when I put the cowl on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the best epitome of the other side of that is the Kevin Conroy version, because he has the thing of when he's behind closed doors, he's just speaking in the Batman voice, even when he's not in the cowl.
Who's Kevin Conroy?
He's the voice of Batman in the animated series and the Arkham games. That guy who's like the longest running Batman at the minute. I think he's done his voice for like near 20 odd years now. But yeah, they made a within like that animated series, like they made a point of he is Batman in his head like all the time, and it's Bruce Wayne is the performance, because when he's speaking to Alfred in the Batcave, even if he's not got the outfit on, he still talks like Batman. But when he goes outside, he kind of puts on a bit more like, "Hey, it's me, it's Bruce Wayne," like a real lighthearted kind of voice. So that comes across more as the performance rather than because he's using his Batman voice like all the time.
That is still a bit weird, though. That's a bit of a stretch, doing the Batman voice behind closed doors.
Well, it's not like it's just more like a gruff version of Kevin Conroy's voice. It's not like Christian Bale's like. It's just like his normal.
When Christian Bale does the buying the restaurant is it Batman? It's in The Dark Knight, where he falls out of the supercar with the supermodels and buys the restaurant, and I think all that's clearly an act. And also when they burn down Wayne Manor, and he has his birthday party there just before they burn down Wayne Manor in Batman Begins. Again, that's clearly an act as well. But yeah, I don't think the same can be said of this wonderful Michael Keaton version.
He's a lot more personable, and he's someone you could actually maybe get on with. Yeah, he has a personality. He has a character.
He does seem very charming, because even later on we see him with Alfred. He's a bit more playful as well. Like when not to get into spoilers for later minutes, but like this bit where like Alfred's going on about how great Vicki Vale is, and Bruce kind of turns to him and he's like, "Alfred, why don't you marry her?" Like kind of jokingly. I was like, other versions of Bruce Wayne would be too like, to be that jokey with things. So.
Well, speaking of playful, though, I love what Knox does here, because Bruce compliments Vicki for her work in Corto Maltese and says she has a wonderful eye. And then Knox, ever the smooth dude, coming in with, "I think she has two wonderful eyes."
Yeah. It's getting to it's just like, after all this cultural insensitivity, it's like, shut up, Knox. Shut your damn mouth.
His face never stays still for 2 seconds either, does it? He's constantly like even when he's not got a line, he's pulling faces of people and mugging to people. He's
it's like the proto Jim Carrey. This guy.
Oh God! Imagine Jim Carrey in a Batman movie. What would that be like?
Such a thing would never happen, John.
It's insane.
But I do like there's a line that they cut from the original script. Well, I think that should have been left in, where like he mentions, I've seen your photos from the Corto Maltese. Yes. And Vicki responds with, that's interesting because they haven't been published yet. So it's like, this Bruce Wayne, he has access to everything and all this. It's like a little playful. She's thinking like, he has access to everything because he's a rich guy. But now we have the kind of like, well, he has access to everything because he needs to know everything because he's Batman. He has his fingers in all the pies. So he's ahead of the game with every single aspect of everything.
She's definitely a bit suspicious of him, though, right? Like, she probably does think it's because he's rich, but she's giving him a bit of a look there. She's not too sure what to make of him.
It is a shame they cut that line out, though. I think that's that really does add something, adds an extra layer to it, doesn't it?
I think she potentially just gives him that look because, again, let's not forget that this is a guy, like she said to him earlier, do you know where Bruce Wayne is? And he completely misdirected her. And now he's just like, oh yeah, that was me. It's, like in terms of crappy comedy routines for someone to pull, he's tracking slightly behind Knox now. Like it's...
Well, this is clearly how you will relate.
If you're at a party and you're a woman and there's the guy who's like constantly lying to you and also clearly has his eye on you as well, that's the person that you want to worry about. You wouldn't accept champagne from them. 6 cases.
No.
Oh yeah. Speaking of, that was a good segue.
Yeah.
We have a butler, not Alfred, another random butler enters and says that they have to open another a case of champagne, and then Bruce does.
Oh my God!
He does this business. I've used this clip so much in the past few weeks of him going like, "Oh yeah, what 6? What's 6?"
Why does the butler not know how much champagne to open? Why does the butler presume that Bruce Wayne knows how much champagne to open? He says that we need to open some more cases, and then as if to say, "Well, tell me how many then, mate." And it's just this awkward bit, and then Bruce goes, "Oh yeah, six." But it's like, yeah, just do your job, mate. I'm sure you can work it out.
That could be a thing, though, indicating that Bruce Wayne doesn't have many parties. In that, like, the butler, he's trained for this kind of thing of like, oh, well, you go to the head guy of the party, not the head butler, but like the host, and he'll tell you what to do. And then the fact he's comment on this, and Bruce is just like, he doesn't seem to really know that, like, oh, I have to tell you how many cases to open. It's like he doesn't have many people up to the house. So again, it speaks to his awkwardness, not just in terms of social business, but in terms of like he doesn't really know how to speak to the help beyond Alfred. Like he's not used to having to.
Why isn't it Alfred? Do we see Alfred doing something else in the next scene immediately or something? Is there something that is Alfred supposed to be doing something else now?
Yeah, in the next minute Alfred does pop in. So
he's a busy man.
That's what he is a busy man. He had to make all that bunting for the party. He had to paint the sign.
Well, because I see Bruce as a little bit of a prankster. I know you might think otherwise, but I think he's teasing Knox a little bit, because the way he turns to Knox to check that 6 is good. Like he's asking him, because I think he knows Knox is way out of his depth in this party. He's just a schlub. So I think Bruce is toying with him, and Knox doesn't even realize.
He did also have that moment earlier that we sort of skipped over when he introduced himself as Alexander Knox, and Bruce is just like, "Oh yeah, I've read your work. I like it a lot." And it's a bit like, does he? Like, he knows who he is, obviously. But like, I guess he knows, like, we, the audience, know that it's like, oh, Knox writes about Batman. So that's how Bruce Wayne knows. He's like, yeah, this is the guy who writes about my criminal exploits.
Yeah, and gets it all wrong.
But at the same time, is Knox to, like, believe that, like, oh, this guy really likes my work and stuff like that. So,
and yeah, you're right though. Is Bruce rubbing it in Knox's face that Knox doesn't get to this type of do very much by going, yeah, you'd know how much champagne to open, wouldn't you? But obviously, Knox probably just drinks Diamond White or something at his party.
As I said, like, I've used that clip of Bruce Wayne saying 6, all that business, and then Knox beginning to have some sort of stroke with his facial spasm. I think it is. It's just like, look at this guy. He could just crack open 6 cases of champagne. Like, why wouldn't you be like, the guy just offered you a grant, or he's potentially, you've got a thing of a grant in the air, even though he thinks that's a joke, I guess, at this point. But
yeah.
I specifically had to look up that clip, because I was using it for, like, any time. Like, when I threw a party, I was all like, how many cases of champagne should I open? And I said that little clip.
6.
But I did find someone has put a clip of just those seconds on YouTube, but it's called Bruce Wayne 666, and it's to emphasize that he says 6 three times, and it's like, is this some sort of indication that Bruce Wayne is in the Illuminati, or he's
Illuminati confirmed?
Yeah, or is it that Tim Burton or Michael Keaton put it in the film to indicate some sort of satanic connection? And it most definitely is just like, no, he just says 6 times by coincidence. But
no, it is definitely sinister. You've been tricked. You've had the wool pulled over your eyes, McGowan.
Yeah, and that's in the comment section then. That's when someone points out, note the Masonic Lodge floor as well. It's like, oh my God, it's all coming together here. But
that's it though, when you start deducing facts about the world around you based on codes hidden in films as opposed to actual first-hand evidence. It's like those YouTube clips that you can see. Have you seen the people who, and I'm sure it's an actual psychological condition that the people have, but those YouTube videos of them, say, driving down the motorway, and when there's 2 red cars go next to each other, they'll go, look, can you see those 2 red cars behind me right next to each other? You see? Oh, yeah. You see what I'm telling you? You see? They're planning this. They're planning all of this. No, they think genuinely. They think that people are taking the piss out of them by orchestrating situations where they'll see two red items next to each other at the same time. And every time they see two red items next to each other at the same time, they're like, look at this. And people have set up whole YouTube channels just pointing out every time they see something as, as arbitrary as that.
Well, on a slightly different topic, one thing I did notice in this scene that I haven't actually brought up for some reason, it's only a minor thing, but there's no music.
Oh, yeah.
No score, nothing. I just thought that was an interesting little thing, and I'm not really sure what the meaning behind that would be, because you generally put some kind of little bit of score under something.
I think usually when you don't have a score in a film, try to think of an example when all the music drops out. But it's when you want something to be ambiguous, and when you want the audience to be able to kind of put their own spin on something. And I know we have managed to needle out a fair amount of ambiguity in this scene, but there's nothing I could think of that they'd want you to be unsure about. But normally that's what I would think when they don't put a score in there. They're not holding your hand through the emotions that you're supposed to have, are they?
Yeah.
No. Well, the only thing I could think maybe was, on a really basic level, they're just trying to sell you the concept of this big, cavernous, lonely mansion. Like, he's there on his own.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, it does make things, particularly once you've just contrasted from the crowded, Prince soundtracked main party area, and then it really emphasizes that they've gone off the beaten track here. They're in an area of the mansion that they're not supposed to be in. It's very far away from everything else.
I mean, it's even underscored by, and as they walk into the room, if you listen to the clearly dubbed on sound effect of him flipping those switches, it's like a ka-junk, and it's got that echo behind it that's kind of like, it just underscores that kind of cavernous feel to the room, the big empty space.
And I think that's everything, isn't it? That's the whole minute there in
that's all
very
I got.
Extensive fashion. So yes, that's Friday done. Happy Friday, everybody. And unfortunately, it is Ricky's last minute for this week.
Yeah,
I've had a brilliant time doing this. Thank you so much, guys. I look forward to enjoying this as a fan. I can't wait for this all to go live and to be able to share it with everyone and get stuck into the Bat Minute 89 Listener Society.
Hey, excellent. Thanks for promoting that for me. That saves me one job. Yes, make sure you check out that group. And also tweet us at BatMinute89. That's probably the most common way people seem to get in touch with us at the moment. So yeah, do that. And we're on Instagram and Tumblr. Look us up there, BatMinute89. Once again, you won't find anyone else but us, the real deal. And review us on iTunes, because you're all such lovely people. And we're very big fans of you as well, the listeners.
Can I plug my old rap group? If you get a chance at all, check out Dick Limerick Academy on Bandcamp. All our albums are free. They are Scouse comedy rap albums. So hopefully you'll find something you enjoy on there.
Yeah, they are very good. Me and John are fans of Dick Limerick Academy, or DLA, from years past now. So
it's all great stuff. So make sure to check that out. Anyway, so make sure to tune in again next week, where we'll be on Monday. We'll be back with minute 22 of Batman. And who knows, maybe something more exciting will happen than standing in a lonely armory. Next time, vigilant voyeurism. Is Gotham's most secretive citizen a sneaky scopophiliac? Another gregarious guest helps investigate. Join us next week. Same Bat Pod.
Different Bat Minute.